Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ifia, and on this channel I share plant-based friendly recipes with a West African twist. Today I'm continuing on my mini series all about the unrefined oils of Ghana/West Africa, and today I am not dedicating the video to just one oil. We're going to be talking about 3 different oils just to change things up. So we're going to be doing palm kernel oil, coconut oil, and groundnut oil, and throughout the day I'm going to show you different ways in which you can use it to cook and share a little bit more about flavors and extraction processes and the ways in which we incorporate it into our everyday cooking. So without further ado, let's get to cooking. For the first oil that we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to be using palm kernel oil. So this is what the palm kernel oil container looks like. This is unrefined palm kernel oil. I did a video that was dedicated solely to red palm oil because that's, even till this day, a lot more common in terms of cooking. But before vegetable oil was really a thing, they were really using palm kernel oil. As my mother had just described to me, my grandmother still uses this as her predominant choice. So it's so interesting how in 50 years, the choice of oils have significantly changed from palm kernel to like imported vegetable oil. I can understand why, because cooking with this, it has a low smoke point and it has quite a flavor, and regular vegetable oil is neutral and you can fry a bunch of stuff in there. So palm kernel oil is pretty much made the same way a lot of oils are made. If you're processing palm fruit, once you process it, you have the kernel that is a nut that is left. Like shea butter, there's that shell, and then inside is the actual oil seed that you're looking for. So that is cracked, and then the white part is roasted. Well, it is not white, but it still has a dark outer color to it. It is roasted, grinded, mixed with water, and then allowed to boil, and then the oil is separated out. Unfortunately, I haven't seen the full process of how it is made. So I basically asked my mother to explain how palm kernel oil is made. And that is a testament to how much this is disappearing from our average Ghanaian cooking pantry, because vegetable oil is practically doing the job this used to do. My grandmother, when she used to sell like bull fruits and a bunch of stuff, whatever they fried, they would use this to fry. So today I'm going to be using this to fry some plantain. And then as I'm frying the plantain, we'll talk a little bit more about the properties and how to cook with it and why some people might not want to cook with it and all of that kind of jazz. Yeah, doing a voiceover because my mom was dropping a lot of gems as I was frying the plantains, and I'm too lazy to translate tree into English, so we'll do the voiceover. First, palm kernel oil is high in saturated fat. Like most tropical oils, it is solid at room temperature. To bring it up to temp where it's liquid, you can place it near a stove while you're cooking or run it under warm water, not boiling, to melt it a little. Saturated and unrefined oils can have very low smoke points, and I think this was probably the hardest oil for me to cook with because any amount of heat, then it was smoking. It smokes very, very easily, so you really need to control the heat as you cook, and I think it might be better to cook with palm kernel oil outside. Palm kernel oil is not as common as it used to be. Now it's predominantly used to make soap than it is for cooking. And there's also an art to making palm kernel oil that is slowly fading. For one, there are a lot of people who are cutting corners using old, close to rotten kernels to make oil because it gives a lot of oil, but the oil quality is actually not that great. And people are not cracking and separating the nuts from the kernel well, so the oil is less white and more brown. Honestly, if I had more options to choose from, I might not purchase the one I'm cooking with right now and choose a palm kernel oil that is on the whiter side. I know all of this because my mother grew up in a time and place where palm kernel was readily available. As I will mention later in the video, it's the cooking oil my grandmother used in addition to red palm oil. Palm kernel was so ubiquitous for my parents that instead of physical cash, schools were asking students to bring kernels instead, and then the school will sell the kernel to get funding for school programs or events. This experience was not common across Ghana because, again, these oils are geography specific, so I can only tell what my parents had experienced. The decline of popularity with palm kernel oil can be pegged to many things. In my opinion, I think it's from a few things. A few people have DM'd me on Instagram saying that their parents were avoiding palm kernel oil because it seemed like it was more low class oil. And these are people who have parents who grew up in more urban areas, and palm kernel oil was seen as something that the villagers used. In addition to the classism around palm kernel oil, fewer people know how to make good quality palm kernel oil. More people are taking their children to school, so there are less people who are there to learn the craft of proper palm kernel oil. Also, palm kernel oil is now used a lot in traditional cosmetics. So if you're in Ghana, buying black soap or buying Ghanaian made moisturizers, palm kernel oil is used in that a lot more because it's high in vitamin E. So all of these things, I think, in my opinion, have added to the decline of palm kernel oil. So if you're in urban areas, it's very hard to find palm kernel oil. So all of these things add together to make it a less common cooking oil. So this is the plantain that we fried. I am always team hard plantain, but I don't mind soft plantain. And yeah, this one, it was a bit of a challenge because kernel oil has a low smoke point, but I'm happy with how it came out. It tastes just fine. The kernel has a slight coconutty flavor to it, and that's very mildly tasted in here. What my mother used to tell me was that when they use palm kernel oil to fry stuff in their childhood, sometimes if the smell is too strong, they might fry some old cocoa yam or yam, fry to just get the flavor out before they fry what they need to fry. My grandmother would fry bull fruits in here, so they would season the oil with like orange and maybe lemon or something like that to make the oil smell good before they fry the bull fruits, and it adds a nice flavor to the bull fruits. But I'm very happy with how this came. I think you can only fry stuff with palm kernel oil in a very well ventilated location because of the low smoke points. It smokes very easily. So I'm glad I gave it a try, and I'm all about trying to see how I can maintain some traditions that we are quickly losing. So I'm going to pair this with some stew, and then I'll come back and I will enjoy my meal. Okay, so this is my lunch. If you remember, I made this garden egg stew for the palm oil video. It's like 2 days later, but you're seeing this probably 2 to 3 weeks later. So yes, I'm very excited to tuck in 2 different palm oils. Okay, my hair is all over the place, so please don't let it distract you. But for lunchtime, I'm going to be using some coconut oil. So we make coconut oil in Ghana all the time. It's actually one of people's preferred choices for making what I'm about to make today, which is Shito. And if you don't know what Shito is a Ghana style hot sauce. It's basically a chili oil where lots of onions, garlic, ginger, and some tomato paste are cooked down for 1 or 2 hours. Typically they add shrimp or fish powder, but I'm gonna keep it plant-based by using some mushroom, some seaweed, and some beans. I already have a dedicated video to Shito, so I'll link it in the cards or in the description box below. But some people like to use coconut oil to make it. It gives a really, really nice flavor. The difficult thing is that coconut oil has become very expensive in Ghana, and I wanted to make something very special, so we are using coconut oil to make Shito. Yeah, so coconut oil is very available in especially southern Ghana. They always use coconuts a lot in their foods, from like different bean dishes to different sweets and snacks. Coconut oil to cook. So we're going to use some coconut oil. What I love about this series is that not everything you need to go to an international store or African store to get. I just got this at my local Walmart, and the process for making coconut oil is pretty much consistent across the world, so nothing too fancy. So we're going to use this to make some shito. Shito requires a decent amount of oil because the oil helps as a preservative so that you can store it at room temperature, and also obviously oil gives flavor. So adding the coconut oil will also give it a lot of flavor. I'm using the entire container, which is about 2 cups. So this is the coconut oil I'm using. It says it's about 425 mils and 1 cup is about 250. So 1 cup is 240. So this is just under 2 cups. I have some more coconut oil that I will use to supplement what I have here. Shito takes some time, so you don't make small batches of it, and also because of the smell and all of that kind of stuff, you want to just take your time to make it once and let it last you a couple of months. And I have been out of Shito for weeks. So this is the perfect opportunity. And when it's all done, I could potentially just store it in this container that I have here. So that's nice. Okay, I'll let that melt. I'm keeping the oil, the temperature almost at medium low, because again, coconut oil can smoke very easily. So when most oils that you have are usually, when they're first made, they're usually unrefined. So sesame oil, coconut oil, groundnut oil, like the palm oils. And unrefined oils have very low smoke points. They have a lot of things in there that unrefined. So obviously they have a strong flavor. They have a strong taste to them. And then they are processed to be refined. So refined oils really have a high smoke point. They have a neutral color and a neutral flavor. So that's why they are really good for frying, deep frying stuff. But unrefined oil, I don't recommend for that kind of work. So I'm going to let all of this melt, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Coconut oil burns really easily, so I'm not going to take my chances here and wait for it to get hot. I'm going to just go right in with my blended mixture. So this is blended ginger, garlic, and onions. So I have about 3 onions in here, a large size organic ginger, and maybe close to 30 cloves of garlic, or 20. I don't remember, I just poured it in. As I mentioned, real measurements will be left in the description box below. You can half the recipe and do exactly as I am doing. Obviously, there's water in the onions. I did not use any extra water to blend anything, just so that it doesn't take forever to cook. I'm going to add in some tomato paste. This is about half a can of tomato paste, so maybe about a 1/3 cup in here. And then I'm going to just let this cook for about 20 minutes. So I really want to cook out as much of the water as possible before I add in any of the seasoning and spices, because if you put some of those things in early, your shito will be very bitter. You really want to dedicate this time to cooking out as much water as possible, because that is important. And the garlic and ginger, they have a lot of liquid in them, so they will not necessarily burn just yet. And as it's cooking, you want to keep an eye on it, check on it, make sure that the bottom is not burning too much. And let the tomato paste incorporate very well. And I'll let this cook for 20 minutes. Once the aromatic and tomato mixture had cooked down, I added my blended mushroom seaweed beans mix and then my chili powder. I typically just stick to dried mushrooms to make the recipe more accessible, but I wanted to try something new as I had seen some people add beans flour to plant-based shito. The flavor was good, but just mushroom does the job very well. I also added some extra coconut oil to ensure that there was more than enough oil in the shito for preservation later. I forgot to mention this, but this shito is a summertime shito. Coconut oil does solidify at room temperature when the ambient temperature is a little cooler. So if you want your shito to remain a little bit more liquidy, it's better to just keep it in a warm place. However, if it does solidify, all you need is to warm it up in the microwave for a little bit and it should be just fine. For seasoning, I'm using Sankofa natural spices for stew and gravy. This spice blend is an all-natural mix of spices like coriander seeds, anise seeds, garlic, and ginger. I used 2 packets for this quantity of shito, and that was perfect. I let the shito cook a little bit longer until it wasn't boiling as much, and this is to indicate that most of the water had evaporated out. And that was pretty much it. So our shito is done. It has been done for a while, and I've actually let it cool down for a bit because I'm going to store it in my coconut oil container. Cleaned out, no oil, and this thing is not hot. It's at room temperature. So I'm gonna, whatever doesn't fit in this, I will put in another container and freeze. There's not too much oil here. Our shito is done. So yeah, this is some delicious hot sauce right here. I'll package the rest and then I'll put it in the fridge. And we are going to use the Shito to eat some kinky and some plant-based tin fish. So the goal was to eat kinky, but I realized that there was no more kinky at home, so I made a alternative, a very quick gari fufu, or some call it eba. This is made from fermented cassava that has been dried and turned into flakes. I mixed it with some water, cooked it on the stove for a bit and molded it into a ball. I will leave a link above and in the description box on how I make it. For the plant-based tin fish, I'm using Omni Tuna, and if you're in Canada, you can purchase Omni Tuna at any TNT store where they sell the tinned fish. I paired my meal with my shito that I made earlier. As I mentioned, because it's coconut oil, it does solidify at a cooler room temperature, so I popped it in the microwave for about a minute. Typically, you would add a pepper sauce to this, but I was too lazy to grind the pepper, so I chopped some tomatoes, put it in the microwave to soften it up, added it to my plate, and also some raw onions for crunch and flavor. And that was my meal. Okay, so the last oil that we're going to be working with today is roasted peanut oil. Roasted peanut oil. And the reason why I'm calling it roasted peanut oil is because it is pretty much equivalent to the groundnut oil that you find in many West African countries. Peanut oil here is usually peanut oil that has been stripped of all of the flavors of peanuts. In some senses, some people say that even people who are allergic to peanuts can have it because there's really not much peanut in there. It's truly just the oil fat, and that is really good for high heat cooking. But again, in traditional West African cooking, we like unrefined oils, and groundnut oil, which here is roasted peanut oil, is the oil that I'm going to be talking about today. Peanuts give us so many things on the African continent. In West Africa, it's used in so many different ways. You've already seen some recipes that I've used peanuts on for this channel, but peanuts can be processed to give us so many different products. A lot of people know about suya, roasted kebab, and suya spice is actually a dry rub made from peanuts and spices. In the process to get that, you can actually get peanut oil, you can get a snack, you can get so many different things. Essentially, the peanuts are roasted, made into peanut butter. Then water is added, massaged in, and then the oil seeps out. That is cooked down a little bit to make groundnut oil. You can also, if you buy 100% natural peanut butter, you don't have to buy this. If you buy the 100% natural peanut butter and you let it sit for like a few weeks, the oil will separate to the top, and that's like your cold pressed, unrefined peanut oil. So sometimes when I buy large tubs of peanut butter from Costco, when I let it sit down, because they come in packs, when you let them sit down for about a month, I just collect whatever oil has sat at the top and then I put it in a container. So yeah, that's why you don't have to buy this. This is actually quite expensive. The difficult thing is that getting groundnut oil in Accra is also very difficult because those unrefined oils have very unique flavors and they can't be used for high heat cooking. So, well, you can, but you need good ventilation. You probably want to be cooking outside, and most people are cooking indoors now, and more people are going to school. So those crafts are not being passed on as much. So sometimes it's harder to get some of the artisanal oils like groundnut oil or palm kernel oil. But yeah, it's talking to my mother. That was one of the most important cooking oils, except for palm kernel or red palm oil. And they use it to make oil rice. But instead of using vegetable oil, they use groundnut oil. And that is exactly what we're going to be making for dinner today. So I'm going to make Agwa Mu, which is oil rice with some sauteed onions. And I'm going to have that with a raw pepper, it's like tomatoes and scotch bonnet pepper, and some fried egg. I'm using plant-based egg, but use whatever you want to use. That is going to be our dinner. Let's get to cooking. So I'm not going to make much, it's just me today. I have my peanut oil here. This is not just from the container, but oil that has collected on groundnut paste, or sorry, on peanut butter that I've also collected. So I'm going to add maybe 3 tablespoons. This smells like peanuts. So if you don't like peanuts, this oil is not for you. And if you're allergic to peanuts, this oil is not for you either. But I have showcased so many different types of oils. There's lots to choose from. I'm going to let the oil heat up a bit, and then I will saute some onions in there. Okay, we're going to add some onions. This is some leftover onions from yesterday when I was doing the shea butter recipe, which you probably saw last week. I'm going to let that saute. And Agwa Mu was something we ate a lot as children, and usually it was vegetable oil. The onions are sauteed lightly and become really sweet, and then you cook your rice in there. So I'm just gonna let this saute for a bit, just so that the water comes off the onions. Some people also add something called tolo beef. In fact, when I was a kid, we rarely had tolo beef, so I didn't know what tolo beef was until much later in my adult life. I think it's goats that is salted, but again, I'm the last person you should be asking about that. And some people add that because it's salted, so it adds a salty umami flavor, but it's not necessary at all. So our onions are starting to take on some colors. I'm gonna add in some rice. I'm using white rice here, specifically indigenous West African rice, but any rice can work. This is about 1.5 cups. I'm gonna mix it well so it can absorb the flavors. And toast a little bit. I'm going to add some salt. In my water. Honestly, white rice does not need a lot of water. Whoever tells you you need a 1:2 ratio of rice to water is actually lying to you. More so around 1:1, 1.25. Especially if you cook it on low heat, the steam can cook it down for you. So I'm gonna give everything a good mix. I'm gonna taste to make sure there's enough salt. I can do with some more. Just like a touch. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to let this cook, come to a boil, cover, let it cook for 20 to 25 minutes until the rice is fully tender. Okay, so our rice is done. It's been done for a while, but yeah. I ended up adding about 1/4 cup of water into the rice. But yeah, that is what it looks like. The onions are in there. That's the rice set aside. We will eat it in here because I can't be bothered to get another bowl. And this is our fresh pepper. I didn't grind it too smooth. It has onion, tomato, scotch bonnet pepper, and I should add some salt. If you are making a larger quantity, you can make it in a blender, but it's just me, so. I think I should have put water in the calabash so that things don't stick. So this is how Agwa Mu really is typically served. But to be very honest with you now, the food culture in Ghana has taken it and has made it like fully loaded. So people will be adding sausage and avocado and all sorts of things to it when it's either just raw pepper, rice, and tinned fish, or raw pepper, rice, and fried egg. My thing did not really come out omelette-like, so we'll just put it in there like that. And just egg is said to have enough same protein as eggs. So this is my protein sauce. Okay, and there we go. My basic dinner of Agwa Mu and some raw pepper and some plant-based egg, and this is going to be my meal. It's been a long day, but thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you found today's video very helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, please leave them in the comment section below. In the description box, I will be including recipes or any important links that can give you some more information about what I have shared either today or the last 3 videos. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!